Over the years, there have been a handful of missing Pokémon in the Pokémon games. These are Pokémon that, due to various reasons, are missing from the Pokédex even though they would otherwise be expected to be there, and therefore you have never got the chance to see them. Until now. In this video, I'm going to be showing you what some of these missing Pokémon could look like if we ever got the chance to see them for ourselves. This even includes a group of starter Pokémon that we'll look at a little bit later, but right now we are going to begin with some fossil Pokémon. In Gen 7, we did not receive any fossil Pokémon, despite getting them in nearly every generation prior. And while there is some logic to this, with the Hawaiian Islands that serve as the basis for the Alola region being pretty fossil-free due to their younger age, it still left a hole in the Pokédex that many were expecting to see going in. In fact, there were reportedly even going to be fossil Pokémon in Alola at one point, according to info that came out with the recent Pokémon Terra leak, but they were obviously cut. So with this whole situation in mind, I am going to go ahead and give you a glimpse at what these Pokémon could have been like that we have never gotten to see. And first up is Molluscule. Molluscule is a first stage rock grass type, and as you can tell, it is a snail Pokemon. As I mentioned before, Hawaii doesn't have a lot of fossils due to the islands being so young, but there was a species of snail that lived there, known as an Oahu tree snail, that recently went extinct. Additionally, it was also endemic to Hawaii, meaning this is the only place that it could be found naturally in the world, and therefore it feels like as good of a candidate as any to be an Alolan fossil Pokemon. As their name would suggest, these snails also lived in trees, which inspired the design of Molluscule by giving it a shell that is also an acorn. I imagine that in its evolution, it would also grow from this acorn and gain a lot of tree elements, which I feel like would give it a unique design that could help it to really stand out. I also loved how its name turned out too, as it comes from mollusk and minuscule, and it just fit together really nicely in my opinion. So this is one possibility for what an Alolan fossil Pokemon could be, but we actually have a little more info to go off of for the second one. As part of those aforementioned leaks, one of the fossil Pokemon mentioned in the leaks was mentioned specifically to be a rock water type. So that will help give us a little bit more of a clearer vision going into this next one. This is Predator, and it is the kind of thing that I could see Alola having as a fossil Pokemon had they actually been included. Not only do we know this one would have been part water type, but with the Hawaiian Islands themselves not producing a lot of fossils as I mentioned, and also being islands, some kind of fish Pokemon seems like a very solid possibility. At the time, we had also yet to see a fish-based fossil Pokemon, so again, it seems like as good of a candidate as any for what we could have seen out of this Pokemon. Predator here is a final evolution, and it's also inspired by the Dunkleosteus, which admittedly doesn't have a direct connection to Hawaii, but it was first discovered in the US. It is also thought to have been an apex predator and one of the first vertebrate apex predators ever. The name Predator derives from this as it comes from predator and the pre suffix, since it originates from prehistoric times. So while a pair of Alolan fossils could have truly been anything at the end of the day, these two do, in my opinion, feel like a pretty solid representation of what they potentially could have been like, had they actually been included in the games. And bringing these guys to life has all been made possible by you guys, so thank you so much, and a great way to help keep these videos happening is through my merch store. There's more than just your normal YouTube merch on there, as there are plushies and even trading cards available that feature the Fakemon that come from videos just like this one. The plushies are also super soft, well made, and go great with any gaming or plush collection, and the cards are as nice as any trading cards out there. Every order also directly goes right back into making videos for you guys, so consider checking it out and scooping something up with the link in the description. It would be super appreciated. And now, with that said, let's take a look at some more Pokemon. I did mention we were going to talk about a group of starter Pokemon though, so let's go ahead and get into that. I also got to give a big shout out to my guy Rgreywind, who I commissioned for all of these designs, and as always, you can check him out with the links in the description. The group of starters I am referring to here would be the hypothetical Orre starter Pokemon. The Orre region was introduced in Pokemon Colosseum and has much of what you'd expect to see from a Pokemon region, like multiple towns to travel to, an evil team to face, a regional professor, and it's even got a real-world inspiration just like the actual Pokemon regions, which is Phoenix, Arizona. One thing it does not feature, though, are its own unique species of Pokemon, since all the Pokemon that we see there come from previous regions. However, realistically speaking, Orre would definitely have its own Pokemon if it weren't for the games just not wanting to explore that. The total number of Pokemon you get to see in those games is very limited to begin with, so we already know that they're holding back on us in that department, and with it being based distinctively on Phoenix, Arizona, which is a totally unique area compared to all the other Pokemon regions, it's hard to believe that it wouldn't have its own unique set of Pokemon to offer, which would of course also include starter Pokemon. So we are now going to take a look at what Orre's starters could look like and begin with the grass starter Pokebee. Pokebee is based on a ringtail cat, and despite its name, it's actually a member of the raccoon family. It's also the state mammal of Arizona, which is what inspired it as a potential starter here. Its distinctive tail was also another big inspiration, because I thought that the bushiness of its tail could be translated really well into a cactus for a Pokemon design, with the cactus obviously being another major symbol of the Arizona area. Due to Orre embracing a little bit of that Wild West kind of culture as well, it only seemed right for a starter Pokemon to be themed around a cactus. The name Pokebee, meanwhile, comes from the cactus as well, as it derives from poke, which cacti are obviously known to do, and baby, since this Pokemon is a first stage. So that is what could have possibly been one of your options for a starter Pokemon in the Orre region. And the next would be the Fire-type Cocolt. Cocolt is a horse Pokemon, as you can see, and this is due to two primary factors. One, just like Pokebee, it represents the western US area that Orre is based on very well. And two, it also falls in line with the Chinese zodiac, which the fire starters have obviously been attached to forever. As such, a fire horse starter is not exactly a new idea by any means, but to me, this one in particular feels a little more unique, and that is because in order to justify the fire typing, it is also themed around coal. That is why it is primarily black in color, and while it doesn't really show up too distinctively in this design, its hooves are also meant to be made of coal as well. And this is something that I imagine would be more prominently shown off as this Pokemon evolved. Its name also uses the coal theme too, as it comes from coal and colt, which is a young horse. I personally really like how Colt turned out, and it might just be my pick of this starter bunch. But at the same time, we have also got one more of these starters to show off before we can truly make that decision, and that starter would be the water starter Kickwid. Kickwid is obviously, as you can see, a snake Pokemon, which I feel is a bit unique for a water-type starter. Usually snake starters are portrayed as fire types amongst the fans because of the whole Zodiac thing, but Kickwid ended up coming about anyway due to pure circumstance. Colt had already been picked as the fire starter here, but I also knew that I wanted a snake starter for this group since snakes, and especially rattlesnakes, are another major symbol of the Arizona area. I mean, for crying out loud, their baseball team is named after them, so it just felt too good to pass up. And since I couldn't do fire, and we obviously already have a grass snake starter in Snivy, water ended up being the only available option. This ended up being a good thing though, because it helps to make this Pokemon all the more unique in my opinion, and there are also water snakes out there that actually exist, so it's not like it's that far-fetched of a concept either. For the design, I imagined it having a body that is shaped like a teardrop, which is due to the water type obviously, and also kinda because it's a first stage, so it's basically a baby in that regard, and obviously babies are known to cry. And then the idea from there is that the end of that teardrop body shape would just blend into a snake tail, which is pretty much what you see here. I also really like Kickwid's name because Kickwid simply just comes from kid and liquid. So it's pretty simple, but at the same time, I feel like it just meshes together perfectly and fits the design pretty nicely too. As a group, I feel like these starters represent the Orre region really well, and are a great representation of what the hypothetical Orre starters could look like. In fact, it would be amazing to see a return to Orre in a new game someday, where we actually do get to see some new starters as well as other new Orre Pokemon too. What do you think about these starters though? And what do you think about the other Pokemon shown in this video as well? Are there any other missing Pokemon out there you'd like to see? Be sure to leave a comment and let me know, and leave a like as well if you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys soon with another one, and until then, as always, thanks for watching this one, I really appreciate it, and I will smell you guys later.